everyone, from the Matt Morse Digital Studio here in Fresno, California. This is the Beem and Dean Show, along with the sports director of KSEE24 CBS47, the voice of the FCC Rams, and the hardest working man in Fresno, Scott Bemis. I'm just Dean Shiro.
Hey, you forgot one thing.
What'd I forget?
Also this Saturday, the voice of the Fresno Pacific women's basketball program this weekend.
There you go. See, yeah. I always leave something out.
The women and the men this weekend, yeah.
The voice of the bird, Scott Bemis. So, Scotty, it's championship weekend. You know, it's time to celebrate. This is it. We're here. By Sunday.
It is a celebration, but at the same time, Dean, isn't there a tinge of sadness, sort of?
A little.
The college football season is over. I always get a little sad,
yeah.
Especially when I look at the card,
yeah.
And I only see like
8 games or 9. Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're almost done.
Yeah, but it's exciting though because there's so many things on the line with the playoffs and everything. There's just so many things to play for out there. So, with that being said, it's time for Scotty and I to come in hot. All right, Scott, well, we're going right back to college football. We wouldn't leave it right now at this point anyway, but we kind of brought up something about, there's a lot of talk right now about, with this 12-team playoff, like who's in, who's out, like what's going to happen to the ACC. If Duke somehow wins this game against Virginia, is the ACC going to get completely snubbed? You kind of had an argument that regardless, you like the 12 and you like the banter, so fire away.
Yeah, well, coming in hot, a hot take about something, what we're hot about or a hot opinion. I just think there's too much noise being critical again suddenly of the playoff process and the selection committee and everything else. Suddenly it just feels like all the talking heads are suddenly turning on this committee and what they're doing, and just because some people think that Miami should be in over Notre Dame or like you said, the ACC could be left out of the playoff. I just feel like this thing is kind of working, right? And there's always going to be debate.
Right.
When it comes, yes, I actually am someone who believes that Miami, if it comes down to Miami and Notre Dame as far as who should get into the playoff, yeah. I feel like Miami should get in because they won the head-to-head. And that is somebody who has a ticket on Notre Dame to win it all at a pretty nice
number. That's saying a lot, folks, right there.
Right. So, but I think if there are, being compared directly, the edge should go to Miami because there isn't a big discrepancy elsewhere, right? So I just want to say that for the record. But everybody is taking that and kind of spinning it to, we've got to change this whole process. We've got to change the committee. We need clear-cut standards, all this stuff. Well, you know what, Dean? At one point in time, there was a clear-cut standard. It was called the BCS. Yeah. There was no human process in that other than the polls.
Yeah, and
the polls were in there.
1 versus 2.
The computers were completely objective.
Yeah.
And people didn't like that.
Yeah.
So now here we are, however many, 10, 15 years later, whatever it is.
We've gone from 2 to 4, now to 12.
To 12, and we've got a human committee who ultimately is deciding it with the help of numbers and metrics and everything else.
Sure.
And just because somebody may think, that Miami deserves to get in over Notre Dame, or, why isn't Texas going to be in this playoff because they've got 3 quality wins, over SEC competition. We're going to blow this whole thing up and switch it up. If you look at an ESPN panel,
right,
when they're talking about Miami versus Notre Dame, Booker McFarland thinks it's clear Miami should be in over Notre Dame. Joey Galloway thinks exact opposite. A couple other guys might be one way or the other. Nobody could agree on this, right?
Right.
There's always going to be debate about this, and let's embrace the debate.
Yeah.
Because the debate is good for college football. I mean, it's all we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. And so don't go and blow this thing up just because one person's opinion thinks one way or the other.
Right.
I think it's working.
Gotcha.
I think it's working. There is an argument for Notre Dame to be in over Miami.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame on a neutral field would be favored over Miami, like by probably 3 or 4 points at this point,
I get it.
right?
Yeah.
And so I think that they're probably a better team according to the odds makers. Now, are they the most deserving team? That's another, subject open for debate. But that's the key, Dean. It's debate.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer. And so I don't know, just let this play out for a few more years before we make any changes.
Flip your camera down a little bit. I'm going to go on and do a little soliloquy here. I got to tell you what the funniest thing I saw, though, today. I saw 2 analysts. You're not going to believe this. This is great. I saw 2 analysts. Let's see. Yeah, we're back. You're good.
Are we good?
I saw 2 analysts. Yeah, these cameras move a little bit.
Yeah,
no, it's all good. I kind of start seeing
when I can see the glare.
I start seeing the clock. I'm like, oh, boy.
When I see the glare up here, I know everything's good.
Okay, so I saw 2 analysts arguing. You're going to love this. Between that Duke has better wins on the season than James Madison. Someone actually said that today. Like, okay, well, Duke's got better wins than James Madison, so if they win the ACC, they should get in over the Dukes. It's like, where are we going with this?
Well, the other thing, Dean, too, is we take coaches, what they say, as if they're being completely honest and it's not coming from a completely political point of view. What do you think Steve Sarkisian is going to say in his post-game press conference? Do you think he's going to say, no, we actually lost 3 games. We shouldn't be in over the 2 lost teams or this and that? No. And like I saw a quote from Manny Diaz, the head coach at Duke, right?
At Duke, he is.
Yeah.
So, For now.
So, and then I hear him saying, if we win, if we win, we should definitely be in,
Absolutely.
right?
We're the best 7-5 team in America.
We should definitely be in. No, you shouldn't. Then I saw BYU Texas Tech, right? Joey McGuire. Texas Tech probably deserves to get in. Mm-hmm. Joey McGuire out there saying, it doesn't matter who wins this game. Both teams deserve to be in the playoff, them and BYU.
Agreed.
No, BYU does not deserve to be in the playoff if they lose the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, there are better teams out there than BYU.
I'm going to do my Texas theory again, though. Scotty, if Texas is playing Colorado State instead of Ohio State week 1, this is not even an issue. Texas is in at 10-2, but now they have that third loss. It's like Colorado in 2001 when we lost to Fresno State. That second loss killed us of any chance of getting to that game.
You know what my retort would be to that?
Yeah, win the game. I know.
You have 3 losses.
No, I know. Win the game.
You have 3 losses,
yeah, I know.
and you had opportunities. You knew the position you were in after you lost that Ohio State game, that you probably could only afford one more loss after that, and you let one get away. I don't have any sympathy for Texas. I see an argument as like if it came down to Texas or a 2-loss BYU, yeah, I'd probably put in Texas over BYU. But the way it stands right now, I don't think Texas has an argument to be in the playoff when it comes to if you're going to take the most deserving teams and not just take who you think is going to be favored, according to the Vegas odds makers.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to sit on my soapbox and say I still want a 16-team playoff. Scott loves the 12. I'd like to see 16.
I'd be okay with 16.
I want to see 17 and 18 complain, just like 13 and 14 are complaining right now. I want it to be 17 and 18 moving forward. And I'll also say that the FCS has been doing this for years at 16, and you just don't hear about it too much, and it's like they've had a great run. So
and we were talking about this on the last show, as far as the Lane Kiffin scenario and the crazy timing of college football and why it puts these coaches in a tough predicament. I know it'd be really hard because obviously you need a commissioner of college football. You need somebody to step up. You need to get all these competing forces on the same page. But if they could find a way to just move the calendar back, right? Maybe even just get rid of conference championship games altogether.
Right.
And end up having New Year's Day be the championship game.
See, I like that. I don't like it stretching into the middle of January now, and then it starts competing with college basketball when it's starting to heat up in conferences and stuff.
And you could have one of those middle Saturdays in December, when you're with family, and it's like from December 20th to January 1st. Yeah. Could be a huge day, you know, for college football, and maybe even play them at host sites or whatever you want to do.
But if everyone's schedule started at week 0, Scott, like Fresno State did this year, if everyone started that last weekend, that second weekend, or third weekend of August maybe, then you don't even have this problem.
Can I say one more thing
about
Texas?
Sure, fire away.
About
Floor
Texas
is yours.
Real quick, too.
And Mark, move your camera.
If for some reason Texas
moving.
had beaten Ohio State, right? All right, here I'm on the angle,
There you go. Now hold it.
Hold it. There we go.
There you go. Now move back.
There we go. We're good now. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too emotional here and I'm moving the camera.
He's like pounding the table, folks. We're getting it. This is hot takes.
If Texas had beaten Ohio State and then dropped 3 games after that, don't you think they'd be making the same exact argument right now?
We played Ohio State.
We went to Ohio State and beat Ohio State, and we deserve to be in the playoffs.
True.
Because
good point.
Let's be honest, they got pretty lucky in a couple games. They survived a couple games.
Yeah, and you can't lose at Florida. That was the thing.
I know it's a long time ago, but that non-conference portion, even though it was bad teams, they did not look very good against those bad teams.
No, they didn't. No, we were talking about how Arch Manning's going to be a Heisman contender, and for the longest time, he did not do much at all. All right, let's get into these games we got this weekend. We've got several really good ones. We're not going to spend too much time like on the MAC or the Conference USA, even though I kind of joked with you about that earlier.
I've got a reason to root for Jacksonville State. By the way.
You want to give it real quick? Let's do it.
Fire
it out there.
That's one of the few plays that I gave out, I think, before the season that's still alive as far as to win Conference USA. Yeah. So anyway, I'm rooting for Jacksonville State.
And one other thing I want to say really quick. Congratulations to Tim Skipper, Coach Skipper,
Oh, yeah.
who got the Cal Poly job in San Luis Obispo yesterday. Well-deserving, good man, Fresno State Bulldog through and through. He's repaired 2 programs now. He helped UCLA get through their quandary, helped Fresno State get through their quandary, and now he's got his own head coaching job. You want to say anything on that really quick?
Well, I just think this is a really good landing spot for Coach Skip.
Yeah.
He's in California. You know, he's close to obviously the recruiting ground that he's used to recruiting, you know, having been at Fresno State and most recently at UCLA and all that stuff. He's been a lot of places, but, you know, at his core, he's been a California guy, even though he's from Louisiana originally. And this could be a great stepping stone.
If he could win there.
If he can get it going at Cal Poly.
He could win there.
You know, he's already on the radar of other programs here on the West Coast. And so he wins there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him move up pretty quickly.
I know a little bit about that program, too, because Paul Wolf was the coach. He used to coach at Washington State. He was the coach before Skipper. They're building there. They're actually building a brand new team house on the south side of the stadium. So they're doing some facility upgrades there at that stadium too. So happy for Skip real quick. All right, let's get into these games. So we're going to start with the SEC Championship. We've got a rematch. We've got our friend Kalen DeBoer, who we love on this show. He's going to be playing Kirby Smart for the second time. So it's Georgia-Bama. Scotty, what are your thoughts?
It's kind of interesting. I mean, there's a lot on the line here for Bama, you know, because it's I've been saying it all year long. It feels like they've been playing a huge game every week for like the last 2.5 months.
Right.
You know, a do or die game almost. And we saw it last week against Auburn. And you could see kind of the weight of that pressure,
when that fumble happened.
On Kalen DeBoer and just the relief that he felt. But here you go again, because Bama's no guarantee to still be in the playoff. They're kind of hanging in there, right? And the fact that they have to play an extra game here is probably
that's
damaging.
the question, Scotty. If they lose, are they out?
See, I think then it's going to come down to they might be.
Because that's the third loss, right?
That's a third loss. Yeah, I would guess that. The question I guess a lot of people are asking is will Miami jump ahead of them? Do you think Miami deserves to jump ahead of them at that point?
Well, it's very difficult when you have a team that's idle like this. Again, that's why I'd like regulation on, I'd like a commissioner that says that you have to win your conference championship to have an automatic bid, you know? So like with Miami sitting on the sideline where they're at now, who knows? Who knows what happens, honestly? So, but it's going to be a great game, though. I think you're going to have to root for Bama because 2/3 of your sports team are Alabama grads. So be careful there. My girl Angelique Martinez over there. I can't go against her Bama. Her fighting Kalen DeBoer. We'll see, but should be a hell of a game, right?
Yeah, no, I always root for Bama just because Sundays are always a lot better around the sports department. If
and our friend Dylan Morgan, too, is an Alabama grad. Shout out to Dylan, too. So, all right, Texas Tech, BYU. We kind of talked about this a little bit. Second matchup again. You really think that Tech's going to just get it done again? You think that defensive line's too much, maybe? Or?
Yeah, I just kind of feel – I watched the first half of that first meeting between these two teams in Lubbock, and BYU really struggled against that defense of Texas Tech. Now, BYU's defense was keeping them in the game.
Right.
They were able to hang in there, and BYU turned the ball over, you know, several times, missed a field goal. There was, you know, they did not play a very good game, but they were also clearly the inferior team in that game. And I don't think it helps that this game's indoors, you know, for Texas Tech, you know, in the state of Texas. BYU's going to travel well, like always, right?
Yes, they will. There'll be a lot of blue.
And there is some, I've heard some sentiment, Stanford Steve out there who likes BYU in this game.
Yeah.
BYU's been playing better to end the year. I just think Texas Tech is on a little different level than BYU. I think Texas Tech, with the talent they have, they've got like, you know, top tier SEC, you know, Big Ten type of talent on that roster.
Right.
And I think eventually their quarterback, I think, is about as healthy as he's been, you know, in a month and a half or 2 months.
Sure.
And I think, you know, I just think Texas Tech, they've won, you know, every single game this year by 20 plus.
Except for the Arizona State
game they lost.
Yeah, I believe that was the only one they lost. All right, so let's go to the Mountain West really quick. So that's kind of your neck of the woods there. Boise versus UNLV on the blue. So what are your thoughts there?
Well, on Monday's show, I said that I was leaning UNLV and that I'd probably give out that as a play on Thursday. I will probably stick with that later. I'm not nearly as confident. I thought that I didn't realize that Maddox Matson was going to be back for Boise State.
Right.
That's a huge deal in this game. I still think UNLV at some point in time is going to rise up here and show that, you know, they're a legitimate, you know, like, what do you want to say? Like a legitimate animal here in the Mountain West, even though, you know, Boise's going away, Fresno State's going away, San Diego, all the other teams that they would be fighting it out with are headed to the Pac-12. But, you know, their quarterback is playing terrific. I think this game comes down to, can UNLV's defense get enough stops? Because I think UNLV will be able to score in this game with their quarterback, their running game, all that stuff.
We both have plays on this game later, so we're going to skip that one. Let's go to the game of the weekend, in my opinion. 2 undefeateds. You got Indiana, Ohio State. This game will be in Indianapolis. Ohio State coming off the euphoric win over Michigan. Indiana's just been kind of rolling people all season. Your thoughts?
Well, this is one problem with the conference championship games format the way it is now. I mean, I'm a college football fan. I still love watching the games. You still love watching the games. Yeah,
absolutely.
But really, in reality, what's really on the line here in this game? There's a Big Ten championship.
Could there be a possible bye on the line for one of them? Maybe.
But is that really that meaningful in the grand scheme of things?
I mean, it wasn't last year.
I mean, I guess if you're Indiana,
it wasn't last year.
Will Indiana's not going to drop far enough where they're not going to host a playoff game, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's one thing to consider, right? Like as far as like this should be the biggest game of the weekend,
right?
But it really doesn't feel that way to me, just because other than the Big Ten title being on the line, it doesn't feel like there's a ton on the line here. But I'm excited to see the game and see how Indiana looks against that ridiculous Ohio State defense. Have you seen how many points per game they're allowing?
Isn't it under 10?
Yeah, it's like 7.8 or something like that points per game. That Ohio State defense is. I mean, that's getting into historic numbers there.
Yeah, it is. Just recapping, though, last year, all 4 teams that got byes got knocked out in the next round.
One more thing about this game real quick.
Go.
One thing that could be on the line, Dean.
Yep.
The Heisman Trophy in that game.
It could. Yeah, you got Mendoza, and then it could also affect a Vanderbilt quarterback maybe as well. We'll see.
I think Mendoza is in line to win the Heisman Trophy as it stands right now.
Would you give it to a true freshman?
As long as he doesn't fall completely on his face. Like, he only has to play, in my opinion, good and not great against Ohio State. Put 3 or 4 touchdowns on the board, and I think he wins the award.
Do you think Sayan then comes in second?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think there's going to be some push for Pavia, the way he ended the season, just because of the personality he is and everything else. Sayan's the quietest Heisman contender ever. I think some of his votes are going to get taken away because some people are going to say, oh, it's more Jeremiah Smith and those receivers than it is Sayan. And they're just, it's the overall talent around him. And so it's a little unfair to Julian Sayan. I haven't watched a ton of Ohio State. I just looked at the scores.
Yeah. He's been very good.
Yeah,
he's been very good.
I'm sure he's a solid quarterback.
I think it'd be awesome for him to at least just get a trip to New York City. I think that'd be awesome. But a true freshman winning the Heisman, I don't think it's ever been done before.
The only way I think it could happen for Sayan is if they fall behind, he delivers a huge comeback and has some sort of Heisman moment against Indiana, which could happen.
Okay. All right, let's get to our dog of the week really quick. So this is our barking dog, decent-sized underdog that we think's either going to at least cover for sure, but possibly win out. Scotty, you go first.
Well, here's the funny thing. I ended up going with Indiana. The dog on the board that I think has the best chance of actually winning a game is in the Conference USA title game. Jacksonville State is a short underdog at home, against Kennesaw State.
Yeah, I think it's about a field goal.
Yeah, about a field goal. So it's only like plus 110, plus 115. I would take them, that would be the dog I think has the most chance of actually winning a game on Saturday. But in this segment, I like to give you a little bigger dog than that. There isn't a ton to choose from.
No, there's only like 9 games, I think, or 8.
I couldn't really get there with any of the huge dogs, that are on the board. So I ended up settling on Indiana just because Indiana to me is still a wild card. We don't really know how good they are. They could be capable of going toe to toe with Ohio State. So Indiana at plus 165 could have a chance of barking.
Okay. I'm going to just stick with the BYU train. I have them to cover. I don't know if they're going to win outright. It's 12.5 right now. I like the fact that Satake came out and said, I'm staying here at BYU. Thanks, by the way, Crumble Cookie Guy. Let's thank our Crumble Cookie guy.
That's big. You're right. Yeah.
But I mean, just for the team, for team morale, what we've learned this week is that, teams rally around coaches that stay. So
although Joey McGuire also stayed at Texas Tech. He just signed a big deal.
Yeah, he did. But anyway, I just think the 12.5 is a big number. We'll see. All right, we're just going to get to our 3 to see really quick for NFL. We got 3 big matchups, starting with tonight. We actually got a really good Thursday matchup, guys. We got Detroit after losing at home on Thanksgiving Day to the Packers. They're at home again, and now they're hosting the Cowboys coming off a big win over the Chiefs. Scotty, it's your call.
Yeah, Thursday night, it's going to be fun. Tonight, if you end up watching a re-air, the game will have probably ended, so we may look silly, when it comes to this. But, I mean, it kind of feels like Detroit's season is on the line, in this game, which we didn't expect, a few weeks ago. But the Lions, for some reason, just haven't been able to put it all together, which has been surprising to me. Their defense really struggling in critical downs to get off the field. We saw that against the Packers.
Yes.
And so this is kind of a must-win for
it's
the
a
Lions.
big game for Detroit.
And Dallas, obviously, where they are, they got to win every game possible to have a chance.
Right. Big game for Detroit, though, because I think next week they come to SoFi and play the Rams. So they really got to pocket this W and get this one done. So should be interesting. Jared Goff, he's just been kind of reminds me of LA Rams Jared Goff. So that's kind of a scary thing a little bit. So, all right, Bengals Bills. So our old man Josh Allen, our local boy from Firebaugh, Josh Allen, they're hosting now. Joe Burrow's back. And I don't know if you saw any of that Bengals game on Thursday.
I did.
They look like a completely different team, Scotty, against the Ravens, and put the Ravens on life support now. So
that's why I put this game into 3 to see, because there were a few others also that were kind of interesting this weekend.
Sure.
Not a bad NFL card this weekend. But this is what I'm curious to see. If the Bengals behind Joe Burrow can go into Buffalo and get a win, because if they can win this game, they're suddenly kind of live to have at least an outside chance of winning that division.
Especially in that division, Scott. There's no 10-2 teams in that division.
The Ravens and Steelers are both tied, I believe.
I believe you're right.
At 6-6. The Bengals sitting there at 4-8. At this point, it's funny to think about the Bengals still being in the hunt. On those graphics when it comes to the playoff picture, but they are. And I think in that Raven game, I think the thing that jumped out to me was their defense is suddenly playing a little bit better.
Yes.
Last couple weeks.
Yes.
And
they put a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson last week. Really made his life difficult.
Even with Joe Flacco, if that Bengal defense had played better, Cincinnati would have 2 or 3 more wins.
Yeah, exactly. And then the game that, I cannot believe this game's on our roster. But if the season ended today, Scotty, the team that would be hosting the NFC Championship game, if everything works on chalk, it's the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are the number 1 seed as of right now in the NFC. Caleb Williams, we both know Caleb Williams very well from USC. And then now they're going to play Jordan Love in Green Bay, probably very chilly conditions. So your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Chicago's got to be on cloud 9 right now, that town, because they obviously, Bears fans everywhere.
Yes.
They're all over the country, in fact. But,
and they're coming out of the woodwork, especially now that they have a winner.
For sure. This will be a good test. This will be a good test for the Bears. They've passed some tests here recently. Going to Philly and getting a win, that should serve them well. But now we're talking about back-to-back road games in tough environments. It's kind of a tough situational spot for Chicago.
For sure.
You see Green Bay is almost a touchdown favorite in this game. Maybe it's up to a touchdown now.
Yeah, it's close.
And Jordan Love played extremely well in that Lions game. I was really impressed with him. A lot of tight window throws. A lot of great plays by his receivers in that game as well. And so I think this is a game maybe where, I think the Bears are a good team, but I don't think they're a great team. And I think we might see in this game that, Green Bay is a great team and has a real chance of maybe getting to the Super Bowl this year. I think we might see that this weekend.
I want to bring up one more thing about the NFL and to get your opinion on it. We've got a few teams that are on bye as of this week. This is week 14, I think it is, of the season. Do you like that? I think it's too late to be doing buys at week 14. First of all, it screws the whole fantasy game up for a lot of people who are starting.
I didn't even think about that.
Some people are starting their playoff run this week, and now all of a sudden you don't have Christian McCaffrey, and you don't have Dowdle for Carolina because they're both on bye. What are your thoughts on the bye being so late?
Hey, by the way, if Hunter Henry's touchdown doesn't get called back on that Monday night game late in the game, I'm in the playoffs in the league that we're in together.
We're in with Larry's league, Larry Bridges.
Thank you, officials, for a little legal shift on an offensive lineman.
Scott's not bitter, guys.
No, not at all. And you got to answer to Cooper Bemis more than anybody else because he's frustrated.
That's a tough one, guys. I've had to answer questions for Coop. He's pretty sharp.
But
sharp.
It might be something the NFL might want to look at. You're right. This is a little late, I think, for buys. I always thought it might be interesting when they were talking about adding like a 17th or 18th game to maybe do 2 buys, during the regular season.
Earlier in the season. Maybe like week 3, week 10. Cut them off by like week 12, though.
No, I agree. Yeah, you're right. It sounds silly, but like fantasy football playoffs, that has to be a consideration for NFL schedule makers.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a big reason that your league is as popular as it is. And the fact that you have to deal with a bye during the playoffs. I think our league, might be a week earlier than some others as far as the playoffs starting with fantasy football.
We are a week earlier. Normally it's next week for most leagues, yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's always frustrating, right? When you're looking at and you got a big game in fantasy and you're like, oh my gosh, I got a guy to buy.
And I don't have Christian McCaffrey, like really?
Right.
But my man Larry Bridges, though, he's happy about the bye because the Niners have had several injuries and he's happy that he can get his guys a little bit more healthy as a Niners fan, right?
Good for Larry, by the way, because he's thinking non-fantasy wise about a football team.
He's
I appreciate
thinking about
that
as a fan, as opposed.
I'm proud of him.
So speaking of money, let's get into our money plays. All right, Scotty, we start December out. I was the first one to fire out. I just want to kind of show what happened. I went 2 for 6, but I did hit that Cal Baptist that you and I, and you got to play on that as well. We both kind of
we were watching that game anxiously together. At least I was, and I was keeping you updated. I was
watching anxiously like you were, and then I went for the double dip against BYU a couple nights later and got slaughtered on that one. But they did do against my Colorado Buffaloes. I knew that they would probably cover that number. So I only lost $11, so not too bad. But you are now officially in the lead because you are on the tee box. And here we go. We got 6 plays.
Well, this brings up an interesting point that maybe I should just considering not having any plays at all, and I might have a chance of winning the monthly battle.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I've gotten a couple wins. I've squeezed out a couple wins. But all right, here's the deal. It's the last week of the college football regular season, I would say. I mean, it's technically sort of postseason. I don't know what to call it exactly. But so I figured let's start firing away. I don't have huge conviction about a ton of these plays, just full disclosure, but this is where I landed.
Go for it.
I gave out UNLV earlier in the week. It was plus 3.5 at that point. I was under the impression, I didn't realize that Maddox Madsen was going to be back for Boise State, their quarterback. And so I'm going to lower that bet. I'm still going to stick with UNLV because I think, UNLV is a quality outfit and they've got a great offense. And like if their defense can get any stops, I think they will stay in that game. And so, but a very small play on UNLV.
That's fine.
Cream of the crop, I mentioned it earlier in the show, I think starts to rise once you get to the college football postseason.
Sure.
So don't be completely afraid of some of these huge favorites. Now, the other little nugget that I saw in this game, Dean.
Go for it.
And I was reading a preview on this game, and the Troy head coach was talking, it's going to be really cold there in Virginia on Friday night.
Yep.
There may even be some snow flurries in the air.
So James Madison gets the host on that game.
Gets the host. And I saw Troy's coach say, yeah, we're excited for it. This is cool. But we don't even have any cold weather gear ready to go. And I'm thinking, you don't have any cold weather gear? This is not a good sign for your team going up against a James Madison team that features some serious athletes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if James Madison rolls. Style points also important for the Dukes right now. So that's a huge number to lay, but I'm going to lay it.
Okay.
Tulane versus North Texas, under 67.5 here.
Yep.
Tulane's only given up 22.8 points per game defensively this season. This seems like a high number, especially because there could be some heavy rain in the forecast there in New Orleans.
North Texas is averaging 35 a game,
North Texas can score, but that I don't know if that's been going up against defenses like Tulane. Tulane has a decent defense there, and so I'm going to go under a big number there, 67.5.
I like it.
I'm going to lay Texas Tech. We talked about it earlier. I just think they're a better team than BYU, and I think they're going to be motivated to win a conference title. And although I will be rooting for BYU for some other reasons,
I know. Yep.
I am going to lay the 12.5 there with Texas Tech. Virginia Duke here. I'm going to take Virginia as well. I just think Duke, even though they're saying the right things, I just don't think they really feel like they really belong.
Love number 6. Scott's going for it. Indiana team total under 21.5.
Hey, Ohio State's giving up less than 8 points per game defensively all year.
Scott's pulling out the big guns, guys.
Indiana's got to score more than 3 touchdowns. Let's bet on
I got to start doing some team totals now that Scott's officially opened the well on that one. So I got a minute. I got way too much to cover. I got some basketball. I want to throw one of them out there really quick. So tonight you got Cal State, Santa Barbara. It's it's Bakersfield and CSUN. Let's go under 155 on that one. I took the Lions minus 2.5 tonight against Dallas. Got a couple NBAs, and then for college football, I bought Ohio State down to 2.5 on that one. And then the other one I wanted to point out, the Boise State UNLV. I think they go way over 58.5. I think that's going to be a complete shootout.
Okay.
So we'll see.
I can see that.
Both teams are like averaging. When they're healthy, they're averaging well into the 30s, So any last thoughts before we got to go?
I feel like you have almost never in the history of Dean's plays been on a short underdog, like
No.
a +2.5. Like it doesn't exist in
Not
your
really.
book.
Anyway, we're going to be back on Monday. We're going to have all our plays. Thanks for watching. For Scott, I'm Dean. This has been the Beem and Dean Show.